Askreddit thread. Who/what was supposed to be the next big thing, but totally flopped. When The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobes movie came out, I expected Narnia to be the next Harry Potter series-style phenomena and big franchise. But then, nothing much came of it afterwards. Wow. I think there was like 3 mistakes in reading that one very long sentence. They did get 3 movies out of the 7 books. Not that bad, really. TIL, they made more movies than just Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. The 2008 Prince Caspian sequel is pretty good, though it changed a lot of stuff from the book. The 2010 Voyager of the Dawn Treader is just plain awful. I wouldn't recommend watching it. If you're interested... Okay, so, as someone who has read all 7 books, some of the books aren't really good, and I can understand why they wouldn't make them into movies, since they're not really needed for like the rest of the series. They're more like extra stories. And of the ones I've read, I've watched Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe. It was pretty faithful to the book. They changed some stuff. Prince Caspian was really good. Like, the movie was better than the books. The books weren't really all that great anyway. I just happened to have them all. And the movie for Prince Caspian, that's like one of the only examples I can think of where the movie was better than the book. And I didn't see Voyage of the Dawn Treader because the book wasn't that great either. Alright. Olestra, late 90s, I believe. It was supposed to be the miracle non-fat, and people did lose weight by eating it. However, it wasn't because of some miracle. It was due to the fact that they shat their pants after ingesting anything with Olestra in it. What the fuck is Olestra? It made me smile, though, seeing the words anal leakage printed on products they expected people to eat. My personal favorite was loose, oily stools. Gross. Wasn't that stuff in WoW, but chips? My brother ate a whole bag of WoW Doritos and had diarrhea to the point that my parents took him to the hospital. It's called WoW because look at your face during diarrhea. Oh my god. Okay, the last few great Japanese hopes in sumo. Japanese fans of sumo wrestling are pretty depressed right now. For the past couple decades, especially since the early 2000s, the highest division of the sport had been dominated by non-Japanese wrestlers, specifically Mongolians. Yokozuna, as you may know, is the highest rank in sumo. The name refers to the 40 kg rope they wear when performing the ring entering ritual. Of course, it takes significant prowess to reach this rank. Rarely is there more than one yokozuna at a time. Sometimes there is none. Right now, there are 3 yokozunas. All of them are Mongolian. The last yokozuna to retire was Asashoru, also Mongolian. He was a character you either loved or hate, the bad guy of sumo. He was followed by Hokuho, who has broken the all-time tournament wins record. As much as Japan's Sumo Association wants a new Japan-born Yokozuna, and they need Hakuho and the other 2 Yokozunos to lose in order for this to happen, they really can't find reasons not to like Hakuho. He's clearly at the top of the sport in skill, and he's a good man. But there have been a few people, the JSA, and the Japanese audiences hoped would shake this up. Ki Senatsato, an anthropomorphized bulldog, has been a thorn in Hakuho's side for 5 years now. The JSA promoted him to Ozeki, sumo's second highest rank, too early, and have given him many chances to just barely earn the Yokozuna rank. When the pressure is on, you can bet Sato will cave. And I'm doing really bad with these Japanese names. Then next was Jokurul, or as I call him, Joker. He has some good fight in him, but he's never made it as far as he should. Then came Endo. He was right out of college and he surged up the sumo rankings. He entered the upper division so early that his hair wasn't long enough to be tied on a proper top knot. He did well in his first few tournaments and became a household name. Then he injured his ankle but refused to back down from the tournament. His temporary weakness gave his opponents the chance to learn how to best deal with him. He hasn't performed well since. Japanese fans just got to hold on to the hope. But for now, the Mongolian invasion is unstoppable. That was a genuinely interesting read. How does one earn and lose the Yokozuna rank? I'm just trying to get a feel for how the JSA has tried to, as you seem to imply, almost artificially grant the rank to Kisei no Sato. Kisei no Sato. Kisei no Sato. The JSA itself decides whom to promote and who goes to what ranks. It does so before each tournament. One 15-day tournament every odd numbered month. The Natsu tournament just began this weekend. Because of the sometimes nebulous nature of sumo rules and traditions, there aren't always hard and fast rules that apply concerning promotion/demotion. Certain conditions, however, can compel the JSAA to decide a certain way. And I understand that sounds vague, but it's something one grows accustomed to and largely stems from sumo's less regulated earlier days. Each sumo wrestler will have one match a day every 15-day tournament. It is generally accepted that when a wrestler in the upper division, Makuchi, wins at least 33 matches over 3 tournaments, they will receive the promotion to Ozeki, the second highest rank. Winning the tournament overall will likely hasten this promotion. And Ozeki is expected to post double-digit wins every tournament, and they are expected to be a challenge for the Yokozuna. If they end a tournament with the majority of losses, they will enter the next tournament, Katoban, which means they must post a winning record or be demoted. Lower ranks are not given the 2 strikes or out courtesy. There are also a big raise in pay and privileges and a jump to Ozeki. So there's a big motivation to stay in the rank. For example, even if you're only in Ozeki for one tournament, you will thereafter always be called former Ozeki so-and-so. It is also generally accepted that if a wrestler were to win back-to-back tournaments, they would get promoted to Yokozuna. There are some factors involved, including the wrestler's persona, level of maturity, and political standing behind the scenes. But generally, the JSA can't really say no to someone who has won consecutive tournaments. Here's the thing about being a Yokozuna, though. You are expected to conduct yourself with extreme dignity. You do not get demoted, ever. If you lose too often, if you perform conduct unbecoming of a Yokozuna, as Asashoru did, you will be forced to retirement to save the rank's dignity. Ko Senasato has never won a tournament. He was promoted to Ozeki with 32 wins over 3 tournaments. Whenever Ko Senasato was a winning streak or would finish a tournament with 13 wins, the JSA would say before the next tournament, okay, if Kisei no Sato wins the tournament, wins 14 matches, or wins 13 matches and is still a contender for the championship on the last day, we'll promote him to Yokozuna. Paraphrasing. Kisei would always choke and lose around the middle of the tournament and be demoralized by the time he got to fight the big guys. He's one of my least favorite wrestlers because he acts like a cock all the way. Because he acts like the cock of the walk when he's not under pressure. Oh, that was a lot harder to read than I thought it would be. Okay, next up. No more sumo. Target in Canada. Such high hopes, such a dismal failure. I have to wonder why. I took a Canadian friend to Target recently, and he was amused by how much nicer it is than Walmart. It wasn't even a good Target. It was one of those inner city Targets built into a parking garage, and it still was nicer than the Walmarts in Canada. They had massive problems with distribution. You'd go to Target store in Canada and marvel at how many shelves were empty. Let's see. You're not the only person to mention stock problems. That seems like the sort of thing they'd want to have covered right off the bat, right? Did Google Glass become a thing? They've canceled all near future plans to sell it. The project supposedly isn't completely dead, though. Segway. Sucks so bad. The CIO drove his off a cliff. As a local to the area, I just want to say that the cliff wasn't an obvious one. He was tested as off-roader on his land and it snuck up on him. Wait, did the guy who made a Segway die? I mean, he rode off a cliff, I guess. I think they had a bad business model. Not a good starting price point. The idea and product was revolutionary and somewhat genius. After the success of Avatar, there was a huge push to make Sam Worthington the next big action star. It failed. XFL. Basically, McMahon. Is that McMahon? I think it is. McMahon? I don't know. It's a weird name. Creating a televised minor league of football. Seemed really popular for like a month. I remember it being popular for the entire season. I thought it was a lot more fun to watch than normal football, even though it only had a few minor changes. The XFL also created the popularized the Sky Cam that was now standard. It was big all the way to the end. Where they went wrong was a Los Angeles Extreme 1, and they won in such a way that it seemed like a fixed tournament. I don't remember the particulars, but I do remember watching it even though we were rooting for Extreme. When they won, we all just looked at each other and rolled our eyes. I'm not even sure if it was actually rigged or not, but it doesn't matter. If you've got a football organization headed by Vince McMahon and a guy famous for fake wrestling, you can't have even a whiff of match fixing or rigging. The league was a big financial failure in the first year, but I'd be willing to bet that was guaranteed anyway. Pro football is a huge financial investment, and they had to expect it would take a few years to build a profitable fan base. What little fan base they did have stopped giving a shit after the final game. That was the end of it. Wasn't there that weird period of time in the 90s where emo mute was supposed to get big? Or was that a dream I had and confused it with reality? Sounds like a fever dream to me. Ostrich and buffalo have both been hailed as the next big meat for as long as I can recall. I honestly don't realize why buffalo has never caught on. I personally prefer it to beef. I lived in Montana for about 4 years, and man is buffalo good, but damn is it really pricey. I think that might be why. I know I could never afford it more than occasionally, but yeah, it was way preferable to beef. Spore. What was promised was so much more than the final product. It's still a good game, but reality was such a crushing disappointment that many people didn't buy it. Sega Dreamcast cries. Potterboard created the account, must have used it 4 times tops. The only cool thing was seeing which house you got. I got Hufflepuff. I think fans just wanted too much out of it. I feel like everyone basically wanted to be like MMO, Skyrim, Harry Potter, and really it was just a Facebook browser game. I think people had their bar set too high. Machinima the company. I mean, it was for a while. Then the big names started leaving. Nanners, Hutch, Mr. Sark, and most recently, Adam Kovic. I don't know who those are. Motion capture animated films. They were a grand total of 4 hit mocap films: The Polar Express, Beowulf, Disney's A Christmas Carol, and Tintin internationally. Tintin. People called it creepy for how soulless actors' eyes looked in film. Mars Needs Moms eventually became one of Disney's biggest bombs ever, and promptly forced Robert Zemeckis back into live-action filmmaking. It led to the cancellation of a remake of Yellow Submarine, being used primarily to enhance live-action films rather than use makeup. The Ouya, and On Live. Hooray, now I can play Android-quality games on my TV. Valve releasing episodic Half-Life content as it means to have more frequent releases. My mouse. There we go. After The Sixth Sense, M. Night Shyamalan was supposed to be the next big thing. That's the twist. Atari Jaguar. I don't even know what that is. Atari Jaguar. Oh. 3D TV. I thought when they first came out they'd be huge. No, not so much. There wasn't much to begin with offered in 3D, and you never got the movie theater experience, and the glasses are a pain in the ass. My TV came with 3D. I got it because it's a smart TV, not 3D, and I think I used that feature once. I'm waiting for 3D TVs that work like the Nintendo 3DS. That would be a pain in the ass to watch with the group. Yeah, it is. The 3DS, you can not really see the 3D if you look at it directly from the front. The 3DS was supposed to have 3D movies released for it at one point. In fact, they had DreamWorks as a major partner for this undertaking. Instead, only a handful of short films were released for the time at the eShop, and the only featured-length 3D movie released was Tekken Bloodlust, which came as a bonus with the 3DS Tekken game. I didn't know there was another Tekken movie. Google+. The video game Homefront. Lil Mama. Freddy Ondu. The guy was supposed to be the American I don't know who any of those are. VCR games. Back in the summer 2008, I entered a writing contest to identify the next big website. The winner was to be awarded a $10,000 prize, which was an incredible sum to a struggling college student. I wrote about Twitter and lost to a guy who wrote about GasBuddy.com. I'm still bitter. I've never even heard of GasBuddy, but I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of Twitter. Zune. My Zune HD collects dust thanks to the Spotify on my phone, but as a standalone MP3 player, it truly is the best. It has a crazy fast user interface, and click and drag software was much simpler than iTunes. Cube World. The developer actually said it isn't dead to the public this morning. It's been over a year since he said literally anything to the public. I want to believe. Cube World. What's that? Sounds familiar. Despite 23 months waiting without updates, Cube World dev says game isn't dev. Game isn't dead. Is that like Minecraft? I don't know. Laserdiscs, mini disc. Alexandre Pato. If he could have progressed at the level he was at, he would be the striker Brazil. I don't know who these guys are. Vince, then ShamWow. Getting into drunken fights with cheap whores can do that to a career. That ShamWow works great for Bud. ShamWow, are you saying that the nickname my friends call me by is a towel? Jaden Smith. Back in 2010, he starred in the surprise hit of the summer, The Next Karate Kid, and his video with Justin Bieber, Never Say Never, accumulated nearly 500 million views. Damn, that's a lot of views. 5 years later, and he's now a punchline and famous for his creative capitalization on Twitter. How can karate be real if China isn't real? Pacquiao versus the new MySpace, Ryan Leaf, Meow Meow Bees, live action cutscenes in video games, Len Bias, Wildstar. It was one of the many WoW killers. It was meant to be like Vanilla WoW without the bugs. Unfortunately, Vanilla WoW, when compared to today's games, was shit, and so was Wildstar. It came out, did okay for a while, and now is pretty much dead. Ion, Terra, Tor, Wildstar, Warhammer Online, Rift, Guild Wars, Lord of the Rings Online, Age of Conan, all of these, I'm missing some I'm sure, were the game that killed WoW if you were to believe the Blizzard forums. Guild Wars 1 and 2 were pretty successful. They weren't WoW killers, but they did okay in their own right. Army Hammer was supposed to be someone, isn't he? I don't know. The PT Cruiser, Dippin' Dots, they were great at movie theater, mall, and amusement parks. I haven't seen them around in quite a few years. I've never actually tried those before. I should. Whenever they're at the movie theaters, though, they're usually like $4 for a thing of Dippin' Dots. It's like, I don't really want ice cream that bad. Austin Monroe. Supposed to be a pop star, fading into obscurity. Anakin Skywalker, the 17th century Netherlands. It was tulips. 1637 was the peak of tulip mania in the United Provinces. It concluded with the Dutch Golden Age. Having managed to avoid the general crisis of early modern Europe, the Dutch economy was thriving to the point where many citizens of the Netherlands were able to invest their extra cash in luxury items. Inexplicably, people began to view tulips as a symbol of wealth and success. Prices skyrocketed. As of 1637, a single tulip bulb sold for roughly 10 times the annual income of a skilled craftsman. It got to the point where people would sign contracts guaranteeing that they would purchase tulips during the single week in April that they were blooming. Then the bubonic plague hit Harlem and everybody realized they were wasting their time when they could be focusing on not dying. Bubble bursted. TLDR, tulips were the next big thing in the 17th century Netherlands. Prices went way up. Bubonic plague hit. Prices collapsed. Never knew that. Wow. QR codes. They made it sound like it was about to revolutionize smartphones. I can't remember ever using one in a real-world situation. Until QR codes recognition is built into stock camera apps, they will be useless. Beanie Babies. My grandmother had a whole chest just full of Beanie Babies, easily like 200 or 300. My sister and I used to play them, but we'd get the whole "don't take the tags off or they're worthless" lecture every single time. Carbon nebulons. What? Nanotubes. Oh, carbon nanotubes. Wow, I pronounced that really bad. I work with them every day, and they certainly are useful and interesting, but it is only in the last couple of years a lot of people's expectations are finally coming back to Earth regarding what is possible with them. So what are carbon nanotubes? I don't give a shit. You need to give us material with high enough tensile strength to weight ratio to serve as a tether for space elevator, or I'm moving to carbon nanothreads house. What would you likely say is the future of NAR? I don't care. I really don't care anymore. I know this was buried, so surprised nobody said Duke Nukem Forever. I mean, fuck, nothing was as hyped, delayed, and hyped again more than the game that coined the term vaporware. Brink. I don't know what you're talking about. That was a great movie. Glad this is getting love. Soul Stakers for life. Gizmondo. I kept up on it, read articles from Game Informer, as I had no internet back then. Then I discovered it was discontinued. My biggest letdown in my childhood. Don't even know what that is.